Jerry Jones, brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Good morning, Jerry. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bobby, RJ. Man, it's good to be here kicking this thing off, getting ready to go.
Yeah, it certainly is. What did you wind up doing with your last weekend of free time before the season really kicks off? Did you catch any Deion Sanders in Colorado? What did you wind up doing?
Absolutely. I watched those college games. It was first real college kickoff, and it was so exciting. And for me, and then to have Deion have the kind of game and story and anything you want to call it, how exciting for college football, how exciting for our game, and then certainly for anybody that's has an orientation toward the Cowboys. That was a exciting time for him. What a job he's done.
You know, this is season number 35 for you with the Cowboys. Do you still get just as excited for week one as you did in those early years, or is it a little bit like, it's just kind of business as usual at this point? Does week one still get you really excited every year?
Yes, it does. Everything about it does. The build up to the season, the going to training camp, preseason games, all of those things are, I think, appreciated even more. The nuances that take place out there, the subtle things that are going to impact us potentially as the season goes along, all of those things are, especially the evolving of the younger players and the managing of older players as you think about them in training camp and know that they're going to probably be on that field 2.5 college seasons later. They play about 2 college seasons, really. It used to be 2.5. And what I'm referring to is those guys have got to be ready to play as we get into the, if you will, the winter and get into the playoffs. And some of these older guys you have to think about them that way. By the same time, you have to think about the young guys and how they're going to improve over these next 2.5 months.
As you head into this first game, we had reports yesterday, first practice of the game week, that Tyler Smith had to leave practice a little early with hamstring tightness. Do you have any updates on his health?
Well, it shouldn't be. We'll get an MRI on that today. But we felt better about that as we visited and assessed it after practice. And you always are concerned initially, but as he got to acclimated a little bit there off of it, it hopefully is not as serious as enough injury to impact him Monday.
Okay, so as of right now, there's no reason to think that he is not available for week one,
other than the fact that he had to leave practice. But nothing that we've evaluated keeps him out of it at this point.
Jerry, you paid Terrence Steele, what is that now, 4 guys in the last month or so that have gotten new contracts. Is that kind of testament to saying how close you think you guys really are?
Well, I think it's a real statement for individually. I could spend time talking about each one of them, but Steele is a triumph in this sense. We really developed him. He's a free agent coming in out of Texas Tech. Texas Tech has not been one of the areas you think about developing an offensive lineman, simply because you think of them more as a team that doesn't run block as much. Now, that's changed from the days of the Holmes and that area, but still, an offensive lineman coming out, a free agent, and then turn around and have him come in and evolve right before your eyes and be really, really one of the top offensive tackles. Got position flex with him, and then to see him overcome his setback on his injury and then recover from that. All of that weighs in how good we felt about giving him that kind of money. But again, I think at every juncture, where we've had a chance to take these younger guys and get them in line with years to come. We're doing it, and that definitely says that we think they're cornerstones.
Jerry, Dak's cap number next year is $59 million. Is that something that you guys will continue to discuss during the season, or will you table talks as soon as the year starts officially after week one?
Well, I know you're implying on discussion. Those numbers on those contracts, those types of numbers, especially the big ones, you live with constantly. That's always on your mind. There's never a time when it goes away, because you've got to make the entire thing fit. And so it's on the mind on a player decision in the middle of the year. And so it's just a fundamental. We expect Dak to be with us a long time. And, we're always working around it with several machinations of numbers that would work. It's a moving target because you don't know where you are on any given day, for sure, with a salary that you want to have on the books in the future, such as something you might want to be doing with a CD Lamb, or I know our fans need some points to start from here, but those contracts you have to kind of assume that you're going to have in place at some number, knowing that that's not going to be exact until you get it negotiated. But again, that's long-winded, but it just is constantly on your mind. It's just a part of your makeup.
So we're talking with Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones here on 105 through the Fan. So Jerry, the way you say it then, that this is something that's constantly on your mind. If CD or Dak, those two that you talked about there, if they wanted to have discussions about a potential deal, you wouldn't just say, well, we started the year, so we're off. Like, you would still be open to those discussions once the year starts?
Absolutely. At any time. And it may be a better time for them to get to a point where they can make a decision. We all have, I know I do, have times that I get up and I feel like locking something down that may be a loose end, and if I get a chance to, well, I'll do it. Well, that should sound flexible, because it is. It's a moving part. And, of course, we deal the real-life situation is that we deal with injury, and we deal with appreciating and depreciating talent levels. It goes up and down. And it happens there right before your eyes. It can happen during a season. And so how you start a season off is not how you end up a season with a short-term and long-term look either.
Brian Schottenheimer has taken over for Kellen Moore this year as the offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy is going to be calling plays, something he seems really excited about. The offense over the last 4 years had been one of the most successful in the NFL with Kellen calling plays. So what would you have to see from the offense this year to consider that the change was a success?
I'd like to see better protections with our quarterback. That can come about through his own footwork. That can come about through his own release, how quick he releases the ball, get the ball out. That can come about through the design of the passing game, have it to where the thing gets probably is not as drawn out, and where you can place the ball where you can, not necessarily you will, but where you can place it. Those things I'd like to see on the protections. I'd probably like to see a little tighter front. Those are called splits. Sometimes that's there, sometimes it isn't. An adjustment in the splits. That affects the running game. The running game, we've actually, as has been pointed out, we've had great numbers of carries, numbers of attempts in the running game throughout Kellen Moore's time. But maybe how and when that comes, the emphasis on the running game is going to be the difference. But I see the use of what Kellen has. These guys are of course, products, especially Dak. He's never had a year when he didn't have Kellen Moore with him in the pros, either as a teammate or as a coach. And so he got a lot from that. He got a lot. And so the great news is that Matt McCarthy came in. He got Dak kept working with Kellen. It was influenced by Mike even then when Mike McCarthy first came in. But all of that, I think, creates a really great base of having Mike McCarthy step up and call the plays. And, of course, there's an old saying, if you're going to install, you make the call. You don't call if you don't install. And, of course, he's got his hands right in the middle of the install. Mike.
Jerry Jones joined us here on 105.3 The Fan. You are the eternal optimist, one of the most optimistic people that we know. Tell the Cowboy fan that's been kind of depressed lately, great seasons, and then they fall short in the playoffs, why this year is different.
Well, I would. We've had years that we should have gone further in the playoffs with the kind of team, the quality of team we had. But that's not much solace when we say it. But we've had those years. Mm-hmm. I want a team that can play at the level that give us a chance, like maybe 5 or 6 teams that I've been a part of that have not been successful in the playoffs. But I want a team that can reach that level of competition. I think we've got that. And then it means so much to have the whole thing come together in the playoffs when you've got a team like that and raise its level of competitiveness, or raise its level of execution, raise its level of intensity, and play playoff football. That's what I want. And for whatever reason, we haven't been able to attain it over the last many years. That's, of course, frustrating, because the way we dial this thing up in the NFL, there's only one team happy. Only one happy. What the team's fans' frustration is about, in my opinion, is the fact that we're not there at the end at a high enough level to actually get in the next key game, a championship game, a conference championship game, or the Super Bowl. That is frustrating for me. But I saw the other day where it says Jerry must have had a miserable life over these last 25 or so years. But compared to the life I was living before I got to be in the NFL, it has been a wonderful life, because then I didn't even have a chance to be a part of something special like a Super Bowl team. And so it has not been a miserable life by any stretch of the imagination. What is exciting is to wake up here at my age and get to be a part of something, get to contribute, get to do the things. Now, the way we're structured gets a lot of criticism. Unquestionably, it does. But it lets us do a trade like we did the other day on Lance, because I didn't have to fool around. I can make that trade in 5 minutes. And the reason I can is because I had all the information. I had it from when we drafted him. I had information just right at my fingertips of what we thought of his play the last couple of years. I knew what we thought of him. I didn't have to visit with anybody about what kind of player he is. And so I was able to make the call relative to we didn't want to put the resources in him, want to develop him, where did he fit on the whole team. I don't have to talk to anybody about that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. And we're speaking with Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones, because the Trey Lance trade obviously got a lot of discussion in the media last week, nationally and locally, and the crux of it, of course, was what you just referenced there, the idea of like, well, he didn't talk to Mike McCarthy, he didn't talk to Dak Prescott, didn't let them know until after the trade was made. In the wake of that, though, it doesn't sound like you would have done anything different in terms of your internal discussions, right?
Well, it's a continual thing. You're continually prepared to catch an opportunity. If you had to think long or hard or have a committee meeting over something like that, that train's gone. You missed it. So many things are like that. And so we don't have that internal 3-man, 4-man checkoff through the organization. We don't have to have that if it's not called for. Now, to think that I would be sitting there and totally not touching base with people that Will's department is not a trading department. Mm-hmm. It is not a financial department. It is a look at the tape and look at the games, give us a read on how they're playing department. It is a player type, record the evaluation department. It is not a department that says where it fits out, where the player fits in the future or where he fits under the cap. That's not that department. That's not the personnel department. That's the management department, the one that decides, are you going to put $1,000 over here? You're going to put $1,000 over there. How do you want this type player, that type player? You ask for that 30-man department back there that includes professional and college, and the reason you get the carryover from the college information is because when the few that do become professional come in, you use the college stuff to track them as they're involved with other teams. So all of that comes well with it. Between the coaches and the scouts, I'm dealing with about 80 people back there. Surely we can figure out a way to find who can play football or not.
Yeah, you and Steven have spoken a lot about being in the player acquisition business 365 days a year. Is there a spot right now as you head into week one? Is there a spot on the roster where you just say, hey, we'd maybe be in the market to look for a little bit more depth here? Or do you just feel comfortable with where the roster is right now?
Well, we feel very good. I do, and we do feel very good about this roster of where it is. As pointed out and true, your depth in the offensive line would be one that I would go to. Get in line. I don't know of a team in the NFL that doesn't say that. Your depth in the offensive line. So that means that you're going to be playing some games out there with potentially a little concern there. That's why you need an offense that can execute when there's not perfect protection or not perfectly run blocked. You've got to have a team that can adjust when they don't have the perfect offensive line. They've got to have a little better defense, a little better field position. They've got to have some plays that work when somebody's running free. So it's all an imperfect world out there once it gets on the football field. You've just got coaches and plans and special talented players out there that guide it toward where it's got a chance to win the game.
Jerry, last thing for you. Late last week with the passing of Gil Brandt, just wanted to get your thoughts on Gil and the impact he had on the game.
Well, very sad that Gil passed. My last visit with him was from training camp, and you'd love this. And I was on the phone with him, and he was just so clear in his articulation, as he always is. And rather than have a general get better conversation, it was about a running back and his thought. I couldn't get him to talk about anything else but what we need to do regarding our running back decisions. He was just a true scout, true football guy for me to the last time that I talked to him. Easily the most intelligent person and with knowledge of pro football players, and also had quite a background to get there on the pros. He was amazing as how he knew high school football players, and just absolutely still had a network of high school coaches and high school football players, not just in the North Texas, but all over the country. And then, of course, he carried that up through the college level. Just make your teeth drop every time you had a conversation with him. And he talked to a running back that's a kid that came out of such and such high school in Omaha, Nebraska, and how well and where he is or a character flaw, that kind of thing. So he was an exception. As to his impact, it was dramatic on the National Football League. He gave a method and continued to evolve a method to kind of put in place a way to differentiate for pro football between all the players. 75,000 players are going to play college football this year. 75,000 play. We'll draft a little over 400 of them, maybe not that many, maybe 300 of them. Out of that 75,000, there'll be about 200 of them playing 3 years from now. Out of 75,000. So you can see there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think he did it about as well as can be done. He was a great person, had a lot of care, and we had a unique way that we got we got together, how we knew each other, how it evolved. That became a great friendship. My most endearing time with him was sitting there with him watching my grandson play. And he would be evaluating not only my grandson, but other kids out on the field. And we went to games right out there at AT&T Stadium.
Jerry, we appreciate it. Can't wait for this year to get going. We will talk to you a week from today, next Tuesday morning. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it very much. And, boy, let's have a big one in New York. We start off in the Big Apple.
Let's do it.